What's going on? What's going on? Welcome to another coffee and conversation. I am definitely looking forward to this series. Like I said last week, if you caught the show last week, I said, "Hey, I'm doing so many different conversations. I'm doing some series. So this series is about your health, your fitness, and nutrition. So I'm looking forward to tonight's conversation. Hopefully, some people can pick up and enjoy and actually do these things at home. So I'll just see, and then we'll go from there. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my guest for tonight, Marin Ellis. He actually goes to my church, but he is a fitness guru. And I'll let him introduce himself and go from there.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for having me on the show. Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Marin Ellis, also known, not self-proclaimed, but people call me Rev Trainer because I love the word and I love fitness. So when you put them together, you get Rev Trainer. But either way, I've been a personal trainer for 16, 17 years now. Wow. And really just focused on helping people no matter where you're at in the world or where you're at physically, help you achieve a new level of fitness, especially those who struggle with starting with fitness. That's kind of where I find my passion at. So
Okay. All right. So, um, Marin, we're gonna just jump right into it. But I definitely want us
hmm hmm
to, just I know you're gonna give your information and your good knowledge when it comes to fitness.
hmm
So, first question, like, what made you get into fitness? Because fitness is something
right.
that a lot of people like you gotta want to do it. Like, it's not just something that
hmm
you be like you wake up one day and be like, I think I'm gonna be a trainer, I think I'm gonna just do this,
Yeah.
and
Right.
you're not in shape but you're just gonna do it. Like, what made
Right.
you say you want to do this?
Interesting you asked that. So again, I did not grow up with the idea I want to be a fitness coach. Actually, my goal was to be a pediatrician. So my in college, I went to school, studied biology, chemistry, pre med. That's what I ended up getting my undergrad degree in. But I'll be real with you, organic chemistry kicked my butt, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't know if I want to go to med school," but I was too far in, so I kept my major. I still graduated with that, but at the same time, I was studying on the biology side and understanding the human body. I was also an athlete, so I was on a scholarship. I was a scholarship athlete playing football and running track, and so what I would do was I found myself trying to take what I learned in class on the biology side and about how the body works, and then applying it in the weight room and on the track and on the football field to be the best athlete I could be. And that in turn provided me some opportunities to try out for a few NFL teams, um, which I ended up tearing my ACL when I was working out for them, and decided, yeah, I don't want to keep going through that. So I kind of backed off, but in the midst of training myself for that, I really found my passion for helping and coaching others. And it's cool about being in the right place at the right time. I was living in my hometown in California, Southern California. So a lot of people knew me from the stuff that I did in football, basketball, and track. So there was a lot of young kids who wanted me to train them when I was back home, being in school, because I went to school in South Carolina, graduated in South Carolina, came back home to the San Diego area, and then started training for the league and then training kids. And then there, I just started finding my passion, man. It was like seeing people transform became a passion of mine. Um, and to be honest with you, as long as I've been doing it, I guess I refer, if somebody asks what I do, yeah, I would say I'm a fitness coach, personal trainer, but I'm more of a transformation coach. That's what I kind of identify myself as, because this whole thing is about transformation. Many people want to transform in some area of their life, and most people need to or should transform in their health and fitness. So that's one of the reasons why, fitness is a big deal for me.
Okay. So you said passion.
Mhm,
one of the things I learned about passion is when you wake up in the morning, you have a passion to do something. So,
mhm,
I don't have a passion, to get up in the morning sometimes to go to my job, but I know I gotta go so I can pay my bills. But you have a
mhm,
passion because this is something that you like to do. So, you know,
mhm.
how did you really start to develop, and you can talk about your business as well, because I know you and your
Mhm,
wife have a business.
mhm.
How did that passion develop into what it is today, and you all
Yeah.
developing your business?
Yeah, yeah, man. Thank you. So the passion literally came from, hey, let me coach. And then one day I looked up, this is still back in California, and I looked up and I had like 100 kids that would train with me 3 days a week at one time. And I was like, wow, like the fact that not only they came once, but they came year after year after year. And I was like, and so my whole career, I started with kids, started training with kids. And then funny thing was the mothers, when I trained them, the parents didn't leave. Like we were out on the football field, and the parents, it literally became a community thing. Like the parents would come and bring lawn chairs and sit and watch me work their kids out, and then
Mhm.
after an hour, take the kids and go home. So the parents are like, "Hey, can you work us out? If we come an hour earlier while the kids go over there and play, can you work us out?" Then I started working with adults. So the passion, I'll put it, that's where it started. Wanting to see people transform, wanting to see people be the best that they could be. And then after that, what took it to another level was actually my own personal struggle. It was a health struggle. So I was in shape. I think at the time I was like early 30s, in shape, worked out every day, what people would consider a picture of health. And then I ended up having a health scare. One day I woke up, uh, chest was hurting, shoulders hurting, and my jaw was hurting. And anybody that knows anything about health knows that that's a sign either of some kind of cardiac event. Went to the doctor. They were like, "Yeah, we don't see anything." They did a few tests. Well, a few months later, again, a few months later, this is why you always got to get a second opinion, third opinion when you go to doctors. The guy calls me up, the doctor calls me up and says, "Hey, you got to hurry up and get in here." I'm like, "I hadn't heard anything from you. What do you mean I got to hurry up and get in there? I thought everything was fine." Turns out all this stuff that I have been doing, went through high school, went through college, getting yearly physicals to play sports on scholarship as a scholarship athlete. Come to find out I had a heart condition.
Mm,
And you starting to see that a lot in young athletes. You saw like what happened with LeBron's son, what's
yep,
happened with people like Flojo,
yep.
um, Lynn by all these people over time that had athletes that had heart issues. They don't screen for that kind of stuff. So my heart was literally functioning at like 30%. And they were
Mm,
like, wait, we got to figure this thing out. But in the meantime, while we figure this out, you can't work out. You can't do nothing more than just walk. So you take somebody who's been an athlete who loves to work out to say, no, you can't do any of that until we figure this out. That led me into literally a point of depression. I was like, okay, because I started gaining weight. I wasn't happy. I realized how much I loved it and how much a part of it was my life and was taken away. And what really took my training to the next level was I used to, whenever you're training, you have clients who struggled even doing the basic things, right? A push up or a squat. But back in the day, I used to be like, oh, it's all willpower. You just got to believe you could do it and you can do it. And that was me, like, let's get it, push it. And that's fine. There's a time and place for that. But because of my health troubles and me having to actually sit down and literally rebuild myself once I got the clearance and my heart got back to normal and I got healthy again, I actually literally had to rebuild myself, but I found myself in a situation that most of my clients were in. Now I have the understanding of what people were going through, not wanting to get up and work out anymore. At that point, I hadn't done it so much, and I was overweight, and I hadn't been used to that. I didn't want to get up and work out anymore. But I knew I needed to, especially having an issue with the heart. I knew I needed to. I didn't want to eat right. I didn't want to do all these things. I didn't want to go outside and do a push up and go to the gym. I literally had to rebuild my mind and my body. And what that did, and what I believe God allowed me to do with that, was make me a better servant to the people who have those problems. So
Mm,
that's what pushed me. That kicked that passion up to a whole nother level. I mean, I'm like, I get it. I get what people go through, and in that, I'm able to help more people than I was able to help before. And so that's
okay.
what started the business. Divine Design Fitness. I started that about 8 years ago, and it's really what it means. Divine. We're all divinely created by God with a specific design, a specific purpose for our life. And there's a fitness component and a physical component that goes to everybody, even if you're not an athlete, even if you're not in a physical job. There's a fitness and health component that allows you to be better at what God calls you to do. So that's what we're all about, is helping people get in shape for the purpose that God has for them, and allow them to be the best person that God created them to be, divinely created them to be. So,
That's what's up. So I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, man, you said a lot of stuff, so I want to unpack some stuff.
mhm,
I'll go back. And you talked about training kids. Um,
mhm,
what does that mean to you personally? I know, when you're dealing with the youth, it can have a big impact on you, even a parent.
mhm,
But
mhm.
what impact has that had, or did that have on you when you started actually training kids?
Right. Man, it was a big impact. There's one story that really sticks out to me to this day. I mean, all the kids' stories really stick out to me. But I'll tell you two stories. The first one was back in San Diego when I was training, started to train. Um, where I lived at during the summertime, it would get up to 108, 110 degrees, no problem. And I would train kids after school, and it was outside, no AC, no nothing. Well, a lot of the kids, well, I won't say a lot of the kids, kids are just being kids.
Right.
They're sometimes not disciplined. They're just about having fun. And there was one kid in particular, great family, great kid, and he just lacked focus, in school. And what ended up happening was one day, I think he had trained me for a few months, and one day his dad got stuck at work, and the kid lived probably about 5, 6 miles from where we trained at. The dad got stuck at work. So the young man calls me and says, "Hey, my dad's stuck at work. I think I'm gonna be late or I might not make it." I was like, "Yeah, no problem. I get it. Life happens." The dad calls me and says, "Hey, he can't make it." I was like, "Okay, yeah, no problem. We got 2, 3 other sessions the rest of the week." Next thing I know, I'm training this group of kids. I look up, the young man that said he couldn't make it is riding his bike to practice. I look up, he pulls up on his bike, and he was a freshman in high school, maybe an eighth grader or freshman in high school. Pulls up, rides his bike in 110 degrees for 5, 6 miles to come and work out. Now,
Mm,
when this kid started, he didn't want to work out. He wanted to play sports, but they said he wasn't good enough. He wasn't fast enough, wasn't strong enough, all these things. And I'm like, this kid wanted. And what it taught me was, one, I never I'm not a disciplinarian type coach. I'm not one of those coaches that says, "Oh, if you don't get here, you're gonna do all this. You got laps, this." That's not me. But what that taught me was, if you just treat people right and you show them the path, they'll show up. Not only for me, they'll show up for themselves. He wanted to show up for himself. And he had every excuse to not do it. But he still was like, I'm gonna ride 6 miles in 110 degrees, which is a workout in itself, to get there
right.
and work out for an hour. and possibly have to ride back if his dad hadn't got off work yet. And then later on, I talked to his dad, and he said, "Yo, my son, his grades are going up. The teachers are not having problems in school. He's doing his chores around the house, stuff that I never talked to him about. I never said, hey, man, if anything, I just asked how your grades, and they would tell me. But I never talked to him about doing chores and stuff. And that's when I started to really make the connection of fitness, discipline, and the effect it has on every area of your life. Um, and that was a powerful moment for kids. The other one, the second story, was a more recent story here in Dallas, Texas. I used to be the strength and conditioning coach over at a high school, private school, and I handled the football team. Great story. The football team, they could barely win a game for like 7, 8 years. And then they hired a new coach. The new coach brought me on. I handled the wide receivers. We did our thing. We still went like 3-7 that year. And then the next year, the coach was like, "Hey, Marin, we're going to give you the whole strength and conditioning program for the football team." So you know how that goes. Like from summertime until the football coach can only see him a couple of times until the first day of practice. So they were mine all summer. In 1 year, we took a team that was from 3-7 to 9-1 in 1 year with the same coaching staff, same players, everything. And bigger than that, we went with no injuries. We played at a high level with high level kids, and not one of my kids got injured.
Wow.
And so that was a big testament to what God had called me to do. But this weekend, I was actually working at a Starbucks, and this young man recognizes me, and I kept looking at him. I'm like, I think I know him, but I don't know him. He walks up to me and was like, "Hey, are you Coach Ellis?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Man, I'm such and such. You remember you coached me at Green Hill?" This young man just came back from the HBCU NFL Combine and
Mm.
was one of those kids that was on the team that I coached that went 9-1. And the fact that he remembered me years later, I haven't seen him since, went off to Howard University, did his thing, and got accepted to HBCU Combine. I was like, that made me feel like extremely proud. And that's what makes me proud, man. That's what training kids, it's like an ongoing gift when you train kids because you get to see them live their life out and you feel honored and privileged that you had any impact at all on their life. So
Right. Man, that is dope. I commend you because when you make an impact on a kid and then they remember you still years later, that shows who you are, that shows the impact that you made on them, that shows that you're continuing to do something that has an impact and a lasting impact on somebody. So
mhm.
my hats off to you for doing that. Now I want to go back to something because I didn't know this, and so I've known you for a while, but I did not know that you went out for some NFL teams. So this is crazy when I have guests on this show and they start saying stuff, and I'm like, man, I didn't know you for some years, and I didn't even know that. So, I'll be finding out new stuff every week about somebody, and I'm like, man, it's very interesting. So, I know you said that you tore your ACL. Like,
Mhm,
how was that? Because I've seen a lot of people, a lot of athletes that have torn their ACL, but you went from you talked about it, and you went from that situation going into depression, going into how can
mhm,
I come up from this, and how can I use my talent, because
mhm,
we go through these seasons, but God was probably saying to you, "Hey, this is your season
mhm.
to give back to what I bless you with, to be able to give
Right.
back to others." So that whole transition, how was that for you? Because I mean, I know it was difficult.
Mhm,
And like you said, there was depression in there. And before we got on, we talked about mental health is
mhm.
very important. And, and
Mhm.
and 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 we're going to touch on that because that can affect your health. It can make you not want to
Mhm.
do anything. So
Right.
how did that transition from turn your ACL, then going to depression,
Mhm.
and then following along and doing something to pick yourself back up, which is to do what you had a passion to do? Like, how did that
Mhm.
all correlate with one another for you?
Um, I'll say the foundation of the transformation was getting out of my own head. Um, that was probably the number one thing I had to get out of. And I still struggle with that even to this day. Um, I didn't find the answer, the key to it, but I can recognize the problem soon enough to where I don't have to go down that rabbit hole as often. But yeah, like your life, when you're an athlete, especially on a high level, your life, everything you do, you're thinking about performing at a certain level. So when that gets taken away from you, it's all in many cases, it's almost like over half your life has been taken away. You
Right.
don't have the motivation to do things you used to. I used to honestly think that I would where fitness would be a whole part of my life. Like when I played football and ran track, you couldn't tell me that there was ever going to be a period of time where I would not want to work out because it was so ingrained. But what I then realized when I wasn't thinking about catching a ball or winning a race as my motivation, I didn't have the drive to get up and do it. So that was the first realization, like, what is my new purpose for this? Um, so that was the first shift, finding new goals um, to get me to where I wanted to be. But the second thing was even with the health issues and the injury, it was two completely different periods of my life, but they both shifted me into a new era in my life. Um, Again, it was getting out of my own head, realizing like, hey, if I'm going through this, if God's got me going through this, He's got me going through it for a reason.
Right.
What is that reason? And I'll be honest with you, man. There's this one conversation. I was praying about it. I was like, God, why you got me going through this? The woe is me. What am I going to do? All this stuff, right? And the Spirit literally was like, if you help take care of my people, I'll take care of you.
Mm.
And literally, like to this day, that is my guiding light. Like when I wake up in the morning, it was a promise of God to me. If you help take care of my people, if you help get my people in shape, if you help them take care of the temple that I reside in, that the Holy Spirit resides in, I will help take care of you. Um, and so, what keeps me going when times get tough, because times are not easy for anybody. There's periods where we're up or down, and you feel like, oh, I just want to crawl in a hole and go to sleep until this season is over. It's getting out of my own head. It's saying, hey, there's a purpose. There's a reason why I woke up today. There's a reason why I'm meeting new people. There's a reason why I'm doing this and doing that. And that's really helpful in the mental health. I mean, like they say, when people struggle, I used to believe like if a person is struggling with something, one of the number one things they could do is go serve. Like when people get laid off, go find a community center or a homeless center and serve. I'm telling you, it will shift so much of your thinking. And
Right.
then there's blessings in that shift, man. There's blessings in that shift where you literally stop thinking, yeah, your problems are still there, but you start thinking and seeing other things from a different perspective. And once you change your mindset, that's when you can start seeing the other side of the coin. That you can start seeing the other side of, oh, all things do work together for the good of those who are called by his purpose and called into a purpose from God, because you will start to see that in service. So,
Amen. Um, so I wanna shift to, when you start talking about rebuilding and you start talking about your mindset. I
mhm,
think that that's important because, again, touching on mental health, I one name keeps coming to mind, and I talked about it last season. where I was talking about mental health and sports. But I want to say, is it Gabby Davis? I can't think. The
Mm-hmm.
yes.
The
So
gymnast, yeah.
how she left during the Olympics, and I
Mm-hmm.
and I think about that because I'm like, man, we don't people don't think about those things until they actually have to go through them. And
Mm-hmm.
health is something that people when it comes to health and mental health, they kind of collide, and the fact that
Right.
if you don't take care of your mental health, then that affects your overall health. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you're depressed, you don't want to get up and do nothing. You don't want to.
Right.
You went from lifting and doing all this powerlifting,
Right.
and then one day the drop of a hat, you go into this depressed mode, and you start shrinking, and you start to look at yourself and you say, man, what happened? And so somewhere along the way, you got to ask
Mm-hmm.
yourself, what happened? How did I get to this point? And then, like you were talking about rebuilding, like how do I rebuild myself from being depressed, and getting my mindset back into what I used to do, which is going to the gym. Like and I want to debunk some myths, and I have some that that we'll
Mm-hmm.
go into later. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the things is that I always hear is, if you go to the gym and work out, it makes you feel good about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So rebuilding yourself, going to the gym and feeling good about yourself, what would you say about that?
First, I'll say definitely. Well, you hit a. I like that you used the word rebuild a few times, and I had used it. So in that whole process, when I had to rebuild myself, I got this system that this is what I train my clients with. It's called Rethink, Retrain, Rebuild, and it's a three-step system that we follow. And of course, rethink. First, you got to change your mind. You got to change the way you look at fitness, food, all these things. Then to retrain, you have to take that mindset and put it into action. So, how do you work out? What's the best way to work out? And then renew, which is the final step, is how do you get results and how do you keep getting results? So that's the three-phase aspect of everything. So the mindset, like you said, alluded to, is key. Like it's the most important thing. I could tell probably almost day one if a person is going to succeed by one specific thing, and it's the words they use.
Mm,
It's the words they use when I'm sitting there talking to them. If they say "I can't" a lot or all that stuff, you can tell like, okay, this is going to take a little bit more effort. Um, Perfect example, and again, I'm divine design fitness. I correlate like God shows me stuff in the Bible and correlates it to health and fitness. It's kind of this crazy thing, but if you don't, Israel, when they left Egypt, it was a 3 4 day journey to get from Egypt to the promised land. It took him 40 years though. The question is why? To get from bondage to freedom and freedom and abundance, it was all because they hadn't changed their mindset. Their mindset was still stuck in the way of bondage. And so that bondage can keep people down. That bondage can make people depressed. That bondage can let people not see them for how great they actually are. Um, so that's why, again, I focus so much on that, the mindset. Um, and I hate calling it motivation because motivation is fickle. Like you can wake up one day and be motivated, wake up the next, not be.
no,
And
yeah.
waiting for motivation is expecting your emotions to be perfect every day. We all have bad days. That's not going to work. What changing the mindset is becoming disciplined, and practicing something and making it a habit. That's when you see success, not oh, today I want to work out, tomorrow I don't. And I still struggle with this. I even as a fitness lover of fitness and coaching, I say 50% of the time I would prefer not to go work out. But it's again, it's being disciplined, man. It's being disciplined and
Right.
saying, even if I do this, even if I don't do it, I know I need to. And I know how far I've come to not to stop and make excuses. So yeah, again, that mindset, the mental acuity. And then, man, tell me, working out has been proven to be one of the best things people can do for mental health. Um, it's a chemical reaction in the body that comes from exercise, cardio, and all that stuff, but especially strength training, especially lifting weights. There's literally a chemical reaction in endorphins that get released in the body that allow you to feel good, that will force you to feel good. And so, working out, strength training is literally the best medicine. We're not meant to stay still. God designed us to move. But
Right.
you notice when you get depressed, you don't want to move. When you're happy, you want to move, you want to go. You don't, a beautiful day, you wake up, it's beautiful outside, you're full of energy, you want to move. If it's a bad day, you could literally sit still in bed and not get up and be fine with that. So when you realize, like, hey, fight against the desire to not want to move when you're having a bad day and move, and let that first step be the thing that motivates you and gives you the momentum for the rest of your day.
So, man, um, you said you said something. So one of the things that I heard you say is the first step, and you just
Hmm.
said it. I think that's the hardest thing because I'm gonna tell you, I can't talk about nobody else, but for me, like I'm this um like a Luther Vandross. I'm big and then I'm small, then I'm big. So
Small Luther, big
it's
Luther.
right. And so, I remember when I was in the military, I deployed in 2013. There was
Thank
nothing
you for
to
your
do.
service.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. There was nothing to do. So I was like, man, hey, I'm gonna work out. Usually that's what you do when you're
Hmm.
deployed. I was there for 6 months. So I worked out. I ran 5 miles a day, 5 times a week. I lost 35 pounds.
Hmm.
All right.
Nice.
When I came back, people didn't recognize me. But then I got into a depression mode because my mom passed, my great aunt passed the year after. My dad had got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. The next
Mhm.
year he passed. And so, 4 years of hearing and going through and
Mhm.
grieving made me not want to do anything. And
Right.
so, you know, I told myself this year that I had to make some changes.
Mhm.
Because when you make that first step, it's all in making that first step, and the continuity behind it, and the consistency of saying I'm gonna go to the gym. They say you do something for 21 days, it becomes a habit. And so,
Mhm.
I always tell myself, okay, I gotta make it to at least 22. So that means that I done succeeded and did the 21 days. But
Right.
how can a person like me or somebody that's watching or will watch this, how can we, okay, you're saying make that first step, but how can I even get up to make that first step when,
Mhm.
I'm like, because people think, and I don't know how everybody thinks, but people might think, hey, I don't want to go to the gym because it's so hard. I
Mhm.
don't want to go to the gym because I don't know what to do. I don't want to go to
Mhm.
the gym because I don't have the time to go. But I
Right.
want you to, in a minute, just to show some exercises that you can do from the comfort of your home.
Mhm.
Because when someone says, hey, I can't go to the gym, that means that they have to get up, go, and drive somewhere where you can
Mhm.
just usually take a chair and you can do exercises doing a chair. and other things around your house. I've seen so many different things that you can use, and just using a chair can get you a lot more exercises.
Hmm.
But the thing that I want you just to kind of dive into is, taking that first step. Like, how can we take that first step?
The easiest way to take the first step is to not do it alone. Um, Most people, when you invite somebody else to go on your journey, you're now accountable for another person. You're in the military, and so you understand that they. I would imagine they didn't send you. Can you imagine trying to go through boot camp by yourself? It wouldn't happen.
No, no,
Yet we treat life like it's an individual task. We treat fitness like it's an individual task. But there's nobody in this world who's successful and does it by themselves. Like if you look at anybody, they have a team, they have accountability partners, they have people they're doing this with. So the number one way to be successful is community. Um, I tell people this, like King David, he was told he was going to be a king, right? Saul was still the king, and he went through everything he went through. But when I was reading the word, one thing that stuck out to me was right before God was going to shift his season into the season of being a king, from being a shepherd to the king and running away. He started putting people around him. He started putting a community around David to help him go into that next season. So I would tell someone, if you're really about that life, if you're really about changing and in anything, fitness, marriage, whatever it is, find a community to get involved in. That's why
mm,
personal training is what it is. Personal training is another person helping you versus you trying to do it by yourself. And then boot camps, multiple people working together for a common goal. Fitness
right,
communities. That's why Divine Design Fitness, our number one thing is about creating a community. And the community has a life of its own. You got people holding each other accountable, people saying, hey, let's meet up and go for a walk. You could be down and out, but if somebody says, let's go for a walk, hey, you getting up and going, which you need that tough love, you're more than likely going to go, or they're
right,
going to come and get you out of bed and make you go.
right, right.
So yeah, that would be my first thing is community.
Okay. So I'm gonna be honest. So when I lost my weight, I had a personal trainer um over overseas, and we would get up at 4 every morning, and we would get it.
Hmm.
And I mean,
Hmm.
I left drenched. Um,
Hmm.
but you're right. The accountability part is the biggest
Hmm.
thing, because I knew that somebody was waiting
Waiting
on
on
me,
you. Yeah.
and
Hmm.
I didn't want to let them down, because they got up. They could have still been in their bed, but they got up because they wanted to
They
help me.
sacrificed.
Right.
Mutual
And so that
sacrifice.
right.
Yeah.
And so that pushes you to do something. Now, one of the things, because I know a couple of personal trainers here in the Dallas area, um, and I've had some bad experiences. And when I say bad
Hmm.
experiences, not that the trainer was bad. It was
Hmm.
when you start yelling at me, I, hey, hey, hey.
Right.
When you start saying you can put some more weight on that, and I say no, no, I can't, and then they be like, yes, you can, and they're yelling at me.
Hmm.
See, I get out of the workout mode, and I'm like, man, who you talking to?
Hmm.
So it's one of
Right.
those things of I gotta, like, you gotta really know, hey, I'm in this for a purpose. I'm in this for a reason, and don't take it personal, because the person that's helping you is actually trying to get you in a mode of understanding what it takes to get fit and get healthy. But that's been my issue. And so when people be like, hey, I'll I can train you, I'm like, no, I'm good, man. Cause I so the first time you start yelling at me we gonna have problems. So I just
Right.
rather you just, hey, you should do this, you should do this, and show me how to do them, and I do them on my own. But I do understand the accountability part, because I think that was probably one of the best times for me, because I was motivated every morning. Like I
Hmm.
would, like I didn't even have to think about it. It was oh man, I got to go to bed so I can get up and go and work out. And
Hmm.
it was nothing that I thought about. It was just an automatic thing. We did it for 3 straight months. And so even when I came back to the States, I still kept up with it, with the notion of understanding that I'm accountable, because even though he wasn't physically there with me anymore when I came back,
Hmm.
he still checked in on me. So it was still that
Hmm.
accountability that helped me. So Loren, so can you just show us a couple of exercises that you can do in the comfort of your own home?
Yeah. Yeah, man. So as we go into that, so one of the things I'll tell people is it doesn't it doesn't take a lot to get in shape. It doesn't take a lot to transform yourself. A lot of people have messed up fitness by thinking you have to be like a bodybuilder and do these crazy 2-hour workouts. You don't have to. Most of my clients, they see amazing results, lose 15, 20 pounds, working out 2 to 3 times a week, focusing on their activity daily, and then doing 5 to 6 different movement patterns with resistance. So,
Mhm.
first thing I would say, if you want to lose weight and you want to get the biggest bang for your buck, the treadmill and going for long runs is not the biggest bang for your buck. It is amazing for your cardiovascular health, right? It is great. And your activity levels will help you burn fat. But if you want to burn fat, build lean muscle, you have to strength train. If I could do one thing, and I don't like cardio, I like doing sprints and stuff, but I don't like jogging long distance. I'm not built for it. But um, strength training, honestly, you could get a good 15, 20-minute workout daily in the comfort of your own home with resistance bands. So I have a whole garage gym here set up where I work out myself, where I train my clients, but they all hate the resistance band. Out of everything here, they hate the resistance band. Why? Because it burns like heck. You could get a whole set of these on Amazon for like 28 bucks. I have a lot of clients, CEOs, CFOs, people that travel, pastors, preachers that travel a lot. And I'm like, hey, take these. I'll see you on FaceTime. We'll do a Zoom call. We're gonna do a workout. 20 minutes, they're done. Right? All in their hotel room. So that being said, there's don't focus on body parts, focus on movement patterns. Again, we're meant to move. When
Right.
we hurt something, it's usually hurt because we moved in a way that we weren't ready to. We moved in it too fast or an angle we weren't ready to. Focus on movement patterns, not body parts. So the first movement pattern would be a squat. So like if I had this resistance band, I would just step on it with both feet and then have the resistance band here right around my shoulders. And this is a medium sized resistance band. So it's going to provide a decent level of resistance. And I'm just going to squat down, come up, squat down, come up. And if you do that for 20, 30 seconds, I promise you,
You
your
gonna be
heart
hurt.
rate is going to go up. You're going to sweat. You're going to hurt. It's going to burn, even if you're used to weights, because resistance bands feel quite a bit different. So that's the first one. If you're taking notes out there, the first movement pattern is a squat. There's hundreds of types of squats you could do. That's where the programming and that's where working with a trainer comes as a benefit, because we know, okay, you've done this, you perfected this, let's move on to this. So the next thing you would do is like a overhead press. So you could take, again, a band. This is like a lighter one. You can step on it again with both feet Start like you would the squat, but now we're pressing overhead. All right, different movement pattern. It's going to engage your core. You're working your shoulders. Different exercise. If you want to combine the two, you can squat and overhead press. So, and again, you want to get your heart rate up. Do that for 20 seconds 5 times. I had a client today. That's exactly what we did, and she was done. Absolutely done. So the next thing, so we did push, we did overhead press. Now you will do a pull. So even if you don't have something to anchor to, and you can get bands where you can anchor them to your door, things like that. But now you want to work your back. You want to work your pulling motion, the back muscles. So you would step on the band, and I would go this way so you can see. You just lean over and you pull up. Now you're working your back. Change hand position, hands facing away. Now you're working biceps, back, and your back muscles. All right. So you got your pull. We did the squat, we did the overhead, we did the pull. Then you can do your push. Push, nothing better than a push up. All right. You definitely do a push up. Like a lot of my clients, like, I can't do push ups. I hate them. I hate them too. But if you get a chair, like this isn't, if you get a chair or your kitchen counter and you literally lean up, and I ain't gonna do it on this because y'all probably see a blooper, and you don't want to see me fall in my own garage. This will
I
go
don't want to
viral.
see you
This
fall.
might be
Yeah.
Club Shay Shay if I fall off. But you can get a kitchen counter or bench, chair, and you do incline push-ups. Incline push-ups to me actually isolate the chest more than doing floor push-ups. I don't know why, but it really works for me. And they're actually easier than a traditional push-up. So now you got your squat, overhead press, push, pull, and then lunges. People hate lunges. Like people
Man,
literally hate
I
doing
hate.
lunges.
I used to hate doing lunges.
But they're
No,
so good. But I'm gonna tell you
but
this.
I'm gonna tell you the thing that I hate the most is blurpees.
Burpees, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
But they work. But most people don't do them right, and that's the reason why they hate them. There's a
Yep.
difference between up downs we did in football and burpees. Up downs, you have all this pads on. It's like just jump face first on the ground, push yourself back up, jump again. You're just pounding your chest. But a real burpee, you do in segments. You squat down, and you probably can't see me, but you're squatting down. Then you're putting your feet out, back, and up. Okay? Squat down, feet back, back underneath you, up. So you take your time with it, but even that one, it gets your heart rate up. That's a great exercise, by the way. Just do 4 rounds of 20 seconds. You don't have any
Ooh.
time. You say, I don't have time. I don't have the equipment. No excuse. All right. So, where was I at? Oh, the next exercise would be a hinge. So a hinge would be like a deadlift or glute bridges, but that's gonna, if you struggle with lower back issues, depending on the issue, hinge is going to be very beneficial. It's going to help you with train your hamstrings, your glutes, and your lower back. Your glutes are your biggest muscle group in your body. And all that is, take your band, step on the band, similar to the move we did before, but instead of pulling, I'm not going to pull. My arm's going to stay straight, and I'm just going to stand up. Go down, stand up. Okay? That's working hamstrings, lower back, and glutes. So you got your squat, overhead, push, pull, hinge, and then lunge. So again, we hate lunges. There's different ways to do lunges, but the easiest way to start somebody off is reverse lunges. So instead of doing the lunge where we step forward, reverse lunges, I'm just going to step back and come down and then alternate to the other side. All right. That's one form of a lunge. Then you can do the step forward lunges or you can do side lunges. All of them are great. All right. And you're training different movement patterns, different planes of motion. Most people get hurt, even athletes, NFL, professional athletes. A lot of people get hurt because let me put it this way. When I go to the gym and I see people train, Most people are training in one plane of motion. They're training in the sagittal plane. This technical term, but everything's here, here, here. Like there's nothing moving to the side or rotating. So when people get hurt in life or sports, it's usually when they're moving to the side or rotating. Most ACL tears are done when you're trying to turn and rotate. Why? Because we don't strengthen our bodies enough in those planes of motion. That's why I said there's hundreds of variations of each of those exercises to help you train your body in multiple ways, which is the reason why I suggest people get a trainer, not just because I'm a trainer, but we know, well, a good trainer knows
Right.
how do we start, when do we switch, how do we make it harder. And you alluded to something where you said people were like, oh, let's add more weight. There's tons of ways to make an exercise more challenging before I even add a weight. That's usually the last way I make it harder is by adding weight. So yeah, those are a few examples. If you don't have time, you want to find out, I want to get a good workout in, I want to start, focus on those 5 or 6 movement patterns, pick one exercise, do 3 sets of 10. And that's as simple as I can make it for a beginner. There's more to it as a trainer when I program something for somebody. But if somebody's just starting out, do 3 sets of 10 of each movement, rest for 30 seconds in between each set, and move again. The other thing I would say is 2 to 3 days a week is all you need of resistance training. You don't have to do this every day. Even if you had time to do it every day, you don't have to do it every day. Like right now, I have a challenge going on. It's the Biggest Loser challenge, and there's a lot of people who are new to fitness. Where they're doing 2 or 3 days of strength training out of a 7-day period. The other days they're focused on 30-minute walks and focus on that activity and getting 10,000 steps in. And I promise you, they're going to get results. They'll get results more than most people with that basic form of working out.
Okay. I appreciate you showing those exercises.
Mhm.
Definitely. Hopefully, somebody watching this will go out and buy those resistant bands. I actually have those, and
Okay.
they do kick your butt. But um, you know, so I want to throw some myths out at you, and I want you just to, kind of expound on them a little bit. So the first one, the number on the scale is all that matters.
Horrible, horrible, horrible. All right, we're gonna squash that. I.e., I've had clients that literally gained weight and looked better because the number on the scale is just one thing. People need to not focus on the number on the scale and they need to more focus on their body composition. How is your body
Mm,
made up? I literally had one client who gained 10 pounds but went down 3 pant sizes. So
mm.
literally, and it was a mind shift for her. Like she was like, the scale's going up. I kept telling her, don't worry. The scale's going up. Don't worry. The scale's going up. Don't worry. But the same week, she'd be like, I was able to fit in my dress I haven't fit in a year. But the scale's going up. Don't worry. Oh, now I'm back down to where I was wearing like 10 years ago when I got married. But the scale's going up. Don't worry. And then it clicked like it's not about the scale. Muscle weighs more than fat. The whole goal is to burn as much fat as possible and to build lean muscle and to get strong. Those are the 3 things. Don't so much worry about the scale. Focus on getting strong, burning fat, building lean muscle. You do those 3 things, you're going to look good. You're going to look good. There's more specifics to each one of those, but if you can make those your goal, you're going to see some amazing results.
Okay. The next myth: doing a lot of crunches will get you a flat stomach.
Absolutely not. No. Oh
It was
man.
the way it was your response for me.
Right, right. No, because I hear it all the time. People are like, I'm on a 6 pack. How many crunches I need to do? I'm like, I can help. For one, 6 pack is all genetics. Part of our genetics determines how lean we can get and can't get. Everybody has like a certain optimal body fat composition that's kind of in our DNA, and it's different for everybody. But you cannot spot reduce. It's called spot reduction. The term is called spot reduction. You cannot spot reduce. The Your goal. That's why I say your goal is to burn body fat. If you want to see your abs, you want to see a six pack ab. Everybody has a six pack. I'm gonna tell you right now. Everybody on the face of this planet has a six pack. It's just how far underneath fat is the six pack.
Facts. Facts.
And doing crunches is not going to help you burn fat. Doing those exercises I just showed you are exercises that will help you burn fat. Watching how much sugar you eat is going to help you burn fat. Doing crunches, all that's going to do is just make the six pack a little bit stronger, but it's not going to make it come out. You got to reduce, not let me do more crunches to build it up. If you tried to build up by doing crunches and you didn't change anything else, you're just going to have a strong, bulging stomach.
Mm.
So,
The next one is, and I actually like this, because I've heard this a lot of times. You can eat whatever you want as long as you exercise.
number one rule: you can't out train a bad diet. Right? Like you can't. You can't out train a bad diet. You have 80% of the results is in the kitchen. Now, working out and strength training gives you a little bit of grace to eat more of what you want to eat, but still everything in moderation.
Right.
Like I
But
would, I would definitely, yeah,
that's the key
moderation.
word, moderation. That is the key
Right.
word when it comes to fitness is moderation.
Moderation. Do in every area. Doing too much workout, doing too many workouts is just as harmful as not doing anything. Eating too much of one thing is just as harmful as not eating it at all. Minus sugar. You don't need sugar. Like if there was anything somebody had to cut out, it's processed sugar. I understand there's sugar and fruit and all that stuff. That's different a little bit. I'm not a nutritionist per se, so I don't want to necessarily give. We have other people coming on the show that focus on nutrition. But if there was anything that anybody wanted to get rid of, to say, and I love sugar, I love cakes and sweets and all that stuff, man. But what I noticed is when I just go for a few weeks, you know what? I'm not going to eat any sugar, like processed sugar, candy bars, candy, cereals, all that stuff. Your palate changes. Go eat a grape or go eat a strawberry or go eat an orange after you have not had candy and sugar like that for a few weeks. The fruit almost is too sweet. But
Mm.
the sugar that we eat and candy and stuff is so sweet that we think the other stuff isn't satisfying. But eat a grape after you haven't had sugar for 3 weeks. It'll taste like the best piece of candy you ever had in your life.
Man, say, I gotta ask this question, but before I do some more myths, why is it? Why does it cost so much
To
to
eat
be
healthy.
healthy? Because I
Yeah.
can go to a fat, and this is what people say all the time. I can go to Wendy's and get a cheap meal, but then I gotta
Yep.
go to Sprouts and they
To
charging
get
an
a healthy
arm and
one.
a leg just to get a
Mhm.
healthy, just to get healthy food. So, is it a, this is what people do. This is what the consumers have said. Hey,
Mhm.
this is how you push people that want to actually work out and want to actually eat healthy. They're going to spend. The ones who don't, they're not
Mhm.
going to go and spend.
Um, how do I answer this as short as possible? Follow the money. The people who tell people what to eat, what's good for them, what's not good for them, usually have an agenda to sell their stuff. A perfect example: breakfast of champions, right? Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Do you realize that some of the healthiest people in this world don't eat breakfast?
Breakfast. Yep.
They intermittent fast. They don't eat till lunch or dinner. We eat too much in the society. But how do we get there? You had different companies. I won't mention any names, but you had different companies who created a product. They had to sell the product. How do you sell the product? You tell people they need it. What do you tell them they need it for? Oh, so you can look a certain way, so you can perform a certain way. oh, what do? We found a household name athlete that everybody wants to be like, and then we put his name or her name on the box and say, this is what I eat to be as good as I am. And they probably don't even eat it themselves. They just collect the check. So always follow the money if you want to find out what the agenda is behind any kind of myth.
Okay. Um, the next myth: lifting does not help you with weight loss.
Oh, that's the biggest lie from that probably came directly from Satan himself. Uh, lifting weights is probably the number no, not even probably. Lifting weights is the number one tool to lose weight. And again, it's not weight loss. Let's rechange that. Let's rethink that. It's not weight loss. It's reducing body fat. You build muscle. I'm gonna give you the scientific way of explaining this simply. If I tell somebody to run on the treadmill or go running, they're gonna burn calories, right? They're gonna burn a good amount of calories. The second they stop running, they stop burning calories from the exercise,
Yep.
right? But if I told you to do a 10-minute, 20-minute strength training workout, body weight, resistance bands, weights, whatever, the body's going to burn excess calories for the next 8 hours, even after you stop. So you
Mm.
moved on. You're doing your homework. You at work. You're taking care of your kids. You're doing all these things. Your body is still burning calories from what you did up to 8 hours ago. So if I'm gonna choose one or the other, I'm gonna choose something I could do for 20 minutes and get 8 hours of effect versus something I got to do for 40 minutes and it stops as soon as I'm done. But what people do is they count how many calories do I burn while I'm doing the thing. That's not what matters. It's how many calories are you going to burn throughout the day. Your body rebuilds itself after strength training, and as your body's rebuilding itself, where does it get the energy to rebuild it? It gets it if you're eating right. It's going to get it from your fat. It's going to get it from your carbs and stuff like that. But once you run out of carbs, it's going to start trying to use fat as the fuel to rebuild itself. That's how you burn fat. In a
Okay.
simple, I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible, but yeah,
No,
that's
I
how you
got
burn
you.
fat. So strength training is number one. If you want the biggest bang for your buck to burn fat, strength train.
Okay. Next myth: pre-workout products are just hype and commercialism.
I give it half truth. Um, there is stuff in pre-workouts that will give you energy to work out, even if you're dog tired. But most of that stuff isn't good for you. It's usually caffeine. It's like drinking 4 cups of coffee to make you feel like you can run through a brick wall. You go in the gym and try to work out.
Right.
If if a person is gonna do pre-workout and they can handle it, I would just say drink some coffee. Uh, I personally, if I don't do the coffee, I'll do like coconut water. Coconut water is great as good electrolytes. Um, it'll help you stay hydrated. But yeah, most pre-workouts, in my opinion, are just full of sugar and caffeine to get you a rush. So you actually kind of shooting your depending on your goal. If you're trying to lose weight, you're probably shooting yourself in the foot before you even start running the race because you're adding
Mm.
sugar to the before the workout to get through a workout. Now you're just at a net positive. Like you're just like it was a wash. The workout might
Right.
be a wash.
Right.
So
So, so this is because I know that I've heard this before. Pregnant women should not exercise.
mm, mm. So I've trained pregnant women before. There's some truth to that, and the reason why I say that, you have some women who work out and they worked out before they got pregnant, and they continue to work out. I remember taking a boxing class from a lady who literally left the class to go deliver the baby. Like she was in the middle of teaching the class and was like, "Oh, water broke, gotta leave." Go have the baby. But working out was her lifestyle. What I don't suggest people do is like, "Oh, I'm pregnant. I don't want to lose. I don't want to gain a bunch of weight, so let me start working out." That is not healthy. Um, if you're in a situation where you're not working out, and you want to start some activity, start going for a walk. Find a personal trainer who specializes in pregnancy fitness or working out while pregnant. There are trainers who specifically specialize in that because there's certain movements you don't want to do, certain positions you don't want to be in, certain ways you might not want your heart rate to get up above a certain level. There's all kinds of parameters to make sure the mother stays safe, the baby stays safe. Um,
Okay.
but if it's something that you're not doing, not part of your life, I wouldn't just jump into it just because you're pregnant.
Okay. And the last one, I just had it. It's the last one, and I thought this would be the best one. Um, Walking 10,000 steps is enough to lose weight.
Actually, that's true. um, 10,000, but it's a half truth. Most people, we live in a society where 10,000 steps is considered a lot. So that's why, like, it's a measurement of activity. 10,000 steps is saying you're sitting down most of the day behind the desk, behind a computer, so you might take 1,000 steps. If I get you to be more active, you're going to lose weight. So 10,000 steps is just a milestone. It's not the golden rule. It's a milestone to tell someone, hey, get up and get moving.
Okay. So, Moran, thank you for coming on tonight. I know we can talk about this forever, but I do
Mhm.
appreciate showing the different exercises, us talking about mental health, and you know hopefully this helps someone understand that you don't have to wait. You can get up and do it now. You can
Mhm.
take the first step. But what I would like for you to do is just give your final thoughts, final words when it comes to fitness. Anything you want to say about it?
Mhm. Yeah, honestly, I would just tell people start now, start where you're at. There is no such thing as a perfect time. Just start with what you have, use what's in your hand, get to moving, focus on activity, and focus on just the simple, basic things. And those simple things will get you to where you want to go a lot quicker than waiting for the perfect gym membership or the waiting for the perfect tool, the right workout shoes. That's all just a bunch of extra stuff. Start now, start today. If you need to discipline, find a group, find somebody to work out with you, and let's start this thing off the right way.
Okay. Well, appreciate you, sir. Appreciate you for coming on. I hope that this has helped somebody. It's definitely helped me to be able to take their first step. So, again, thank you, Marin, for coming on. So, no matter if it's early morning, in the late afternoon, or late at night, a cup of Joe and a conversation will always get you right. This has been Coffee and Conversation with Kevin Smith. Have a good night.
Take care.